Hey guys, CryptoDad here again. Thanks for joining me on the Saturday night live stream. Live from Michigan, where you can throw out questions and I'll do my best to get them answered. We'll talk about Bitcoin, we'll talk about the news, we'll talk about altcoins, going to move some crypto around for you guys, and as always, I'll do my very best to get to your questions and see if we can't troubleshoot your problems here live. Well, I was just checking my stream strength, and the YouTube interface is telling me that my video stream is got some issues and there might be some buffering. I haven't changed any settings that I know of unless somehow my software reset some of these settings. So I apologize. Let me know if you feel any something wrong with the audio or video stream. I'm just checking the output settings now, and I don't know. I thought I had everything. Yeah, it looks like they're the same as they were before. So I don't know. Yeah, it says the stream rate is lower than recommended, but I haven't changed anything. So I've been noticing a few kind of quirks here over the last couple of days, maybe because everybody's home. They're hiding from the cold. So internet access has been a little sluggish for me. Not internet access in general, but certain operations that I've been doing I've noticed are kind of sluggish. So if there's anything wrong with the stream, put your thumbs up. I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I can like reboot and start over. I don't know if it's that bad. Okay, good. Thanks, good. I appreciate your input, guys. That's great. So the market has pulled back a little bit since we talked last week. It was only a couple weeks ago that we were flirting with 98,000, and then we had that pullback to around 95, which I think we were at last week. And then now we're kind of going back and forth on the 90K border. So I've got some crypto market news for you guys. I've got a little bit of adoption news, some reactions from the Davos conference going on over there. I believe it's in Switzerland, and what kind of came out of that. So I've got a story on that, and then some stories on some wallet security and self-custody security. I did a video on that this week, but I would like to cover this story for you guys tonight as well. Also, someone was asking earlier in the stream about the Paul app, and he said that he updated his firmware and did not see it anymore. I believe that you can still add a Paul. We're talking about Polygon. You can add a Paul account, but I believe it's managed by the Ethereum app on the device. There's no longer a separate Paul app on the device, and I thought it had been that way for a while. But let's double check. We'll check out the firmware update on the Ledger Flex device. I believe that's the one that needs to be updated in my Ledger Live. I like to kind of hang back on those until I can do them with you guys. So we'll cover that tonight. First of all, thank you guys for being here. It's cold here in Michigan. This morning it was like negative 15. Pardon me. And it's been pretty low all day. Yesterday was crazy. It was the first day that we didn't really have much snow. The sun came out, and there was barely a cloud in the sky. It was just a gorgeous day, but then really, really cold. So that's kind of the way things are. The kids were off school because of the sub-zero temperatures. But wow, what a contrast here in Michigan. So, let me know how things are going in your neck of the woods. I think that, who's our guy from Melbourne? Where is he? I'll get to that. I saw him in the stream, said something about being hot in Australia. I guess it's the opposite. You guys are on the other side of the world, so that'll be fun. So let me greet everyone that's here tonight. I want to thank you guys, as always, for showing up. It's always great to have you guys with me on a Saturday night let's see where we're at here. We're gonna go over here. Yeah. So yeah, I mean now the YouTube it's not complaining about my stream rate anymore. Thank goodness. That always like freaks me out when I look over here. This is my little control center in YouTube where it tells me how everything's going. So I think we're okay now. So Kenny was here early. Thank you, Kenny. As always, thank you so much for the news this week. Jazz 28327, Andreas Ebert, Mr. Miskey. Okay, you were the one that was asking about the Paul update. We'll check that. But I'm pretty sure Paul is managed by the Ethereum app now. Let's see. Simona Mooland is here. Roland Kane. Always good to have you here, Roland. Hans Hannah 350. Gregory Wieland. Best wishes to you as well. Christopher Tane from Melbourne. And yeah, it must be hot down there because it's cold as heck over here. Poston from Colorado. Fred McIntyre. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight, Amsterdam Holland, Treb 3, HR by Catherine, Gun Broker 11. It's great to have all the regulars here tonight. Dan the Man is here, minus 17 last night. Might have been the problem. Yeah, yeah, it gets cold here. Yeah, and that could have been something that was kind of freaking my... some operations were taking longer than most, but I was pulling up my web page is fine. Positive Planet is here. Oh, Positive Planet sent me an email about the Celsius distributions. Those of you who were storing crypto on Celsius back in 22 when they went bankrupt, they froze withdrawals, and I knew that they had given out some of their, paid back some of their depositors, not full 100%, but it was coming in pieces. And I guess he just got news that there's a new one going out and wanted me to warn you guys to watch out for any phishing attempts. So whenever there's distributions like that, you're going to get phishing emails telling you that you're eligible for a distribution. I know they're scams because I kept getting them from platforms I never used, or I knew that I didn't have any holdings on. So yeah, watch out for those phishing emails. We're going to talk about that a little bit tonight in the news story. Dan the Man, and the native token of Polygon, formerly Matic and known as Paul, is an ERC20 token that operates on the Ethereum network. Good. Thank you, Dan. And we will run the firmware update on my Flex, and we'll talk a little bit about that. If you've never been in the stream before, I've got everything laid out here for you. A little description, a little agenda, some affiliate links. Check out my Ledger landing page where you can get a $10 Bitcoin rebate on all of their products. When they're not having sales at all, you can still go to my landing page and get that $10 Bitcoin rebate. Also, the Trezor Safe 7, I've got a link to that down in the description. It's the latest and the greatest from Trezor. I think it's a pretty cool device. So I just wanted to mention that. Tangem has extended their New Year's sale, and I've got a link to that which will auto-apply both of these checkout codes, the New Year Extra 26 and the CryptoDad. So you can get, with both of those, you get a 20% discount. I think it's like 25% on the ring, or yeah, I think it's like that. And then on all of those, you'll get a $10 Bitcoin reward. So they say it's going on until February 1st. So if you want to buy a Tangem, it's a good time. It's a pretty good deal. I like that deal. And I think I didn't put the stamp seed up, but the link is in the description. You can get 15% off using my CryptoDad checkout code on whichever you buy. You can buy the whole kit. You can just buy the hammer and the thing. They've got a whole bunch of variations of it. Yeah, the one that comes with, I like the hammer. it's a pretty cool hammer. It's weighted very nicely for doing this and etching. You could, of course, use your own hammer, but I like their weighted hammer. It's pretty cool. And then, of course, you can get the extra plates if you need those as well. It's a great way to store your seed phrase. Let's jump into the news, guys. This is the market right now. Analysts are saying now that Bitcoin is in a early bear phase. So if we don't pop up from where we are now, we could go lower. That's the scuttlebutt according to this story. So you might want to check it out. It's a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, we have dropped down below 90, and that's kind of a psychological level for people and markets. And so they're talking about realized gains, which basically means they're sort of analyzing the blockchain and looking at at what prices people have purchased Bitcoin and have sold Bitcoin, and they're using those statistics to make these predictions. And Bitcoin holders began realizing net losses for the first time since October 2023, analyst at CryptoQuant said. So take that with a grain of salt. There's some charting there and some historical comparisons. So I don't know that they analyzed the number of people that just hold Bitcoin and have been holding for many years in this analysis or not, or if they're just talking about people that have recently bought and sold Bitcoin. Interesting take, though. You might want to check it out. A bit of a downer. If you want an upper, though, this little article is an interview with a gentleman named Alex Savanik, and he has some very interesting insights. Interesting in that he's saying that there's a generation of boomers that are about to kick the bucket, and then they're going to leave most of their wealth to their children who are not boomers and will probably buy crypto with it. And he's talking about this great wealth transfer taking place in the next 20 years or so, which is good for crypto, but bad news for boomers, right? But it's a pretty good point. Boomers are from the older generation. They're a little more skeptical, a little more conservative, may not be purchasing crypto like this boomer right here. I've always been a little bit of a techie ever since the 80s, and I kind of feel cheated now that everybody's using technology. I used to feel so unique and special. It's, hey, I'm using this cool computer or this cool gadget, and now everybody's walking around with like digital computers in their hand, not looking up. So I don't know if that's where I thought things were going or not. He does make a couple they talk about who he is. He actually has a company. So this little article and interview, he is kind of, promoting his thing, which I can't remember the name of it. It's some kind of agent. What is it? I can't remember the name of it. NASN, I think. It's some sort of layer network that helps people purchase on decentralized exchanges. I think it's some kind of aggregator. But there are a couple other little points here that this is a very good point. I had never really considered this, but, we're so divided in the U.S. We're so, anti-Trump. You either love Trump or you hate him. There's people in the middle like me that, he's just another politician, but there are people out there that just rabidly hate Trump and his politics. And so because crypto is so closely aligned with the Trump administration and he's such an advocate, there are a lot of people on the other side of the political divide that just don't like crypto because Trump advocates it. My thing is it was going to happen sooner or later. It could have been a Republican president. It could have been a Democratic president. But sooner or later, political leaders were going to recognize the usefulness and profitability and the technology of cryptocurrency It just happened to be Trump. But it could just as easily have been Kamala. Who knows? But in this case, it's Trump. And so there are a lot of people that are just politics-wise don't like crypto because Trump's for it. They're against it. That's a good point. I never really considered that. But crypto shouldn't be a political issue. But it is at this point. I think that's it. Yeah, I thought that was a good point that he made, though. Ethereum Foundation is getting ready to tackle the post-quantum world. The Ethereum Foundation, they say they've got a new post-quantum team that will work on making the Ethereum network quantum resistant. Ethereum Foundation has elevated post-quantum security to a top strategic priority, forming a dedicated post-quantum team led by Thomas Cordiger, with support from lean VM cryptographer Emil. Researcher Justin Drake said Ethereum is shifting from background research to active engineering, including bi-weekly developer sessions on post-quantum transactions and multi-client post-quantum consensus test networks. The foundation is backing new cryptography with funding and outreach, launching $2 million prizes, planning post-quantum community events and education, and stressing that blockchains must prepare early for quantum threats despite their long-term nature. Now, I need to point this out. A lot of people are worried about quantum, but it is a long-term threat. There is no quantum computer currently capable of breaking the elliptic curve cryptography that is the backbone of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. There are, and the most advanced quantum computers now are using systems with qubits on the order of thousands. And qubit is sort of like a bit, but it can exist in quantum states. But in order to build a quantum machine powerful enough to break encryption, they would need qubits on the order of tens of thousands or higher. And so they're barely able to get thousands of qubits working. And there are a lot of technical obstacles ahead. And so there's a lot of hype behind quantum because there are big companies that are invested in it. So, of course, they're going to hype it and make it sound like it's the next best thing. It's just around the corner. But it is reasonably, by many cryptography experts, estimated to be a generation away from actually even beginning to threaten modern cryptography. The reason that the Ethereum Foundation is starting to work for post-quantum networks and post-quantum proofs is because these sort of developer things could take years as well. So they're getting started on it now, and they're just in the early stages. But it's, it's a good thing to be getting going on, of course, right? You can read this article. I've got all my articles linked down below. Now, this is the one story that I wanted to cover real quick. It's about crypto takeaways from Davos. Politics and money collide. So, of course, they were kind of focused on Trump and his Greenland standoff. And Trump did give a speech where he talked about he wanted the U.S. to be the crypto capital of the world and before China could. But he spoke for quite some time, and it was only a small portion of his speech that covered crypto. So, yeah, Trump spoke for more than an hour. Crypto accounted for only a small section of his speech. But the Coinbase CEO was there at Davos. And the French central banker, one of the French central bankers was there, and they clashed over money sovereignty. You remember last week we were talking about what was holding up the Clarity Act. And there were bankers that were lobbying Congress saying that giving a 5% reward on holding stablecoins would crash the banking system, right? There'd be all this capital flight from banks over to stablecoins if they allowed stablecoins to pay a return of 5%. But bankers have been saying this sort of thing about a lot of other technologies, including I forget what the one was. Something about let's see. Healthy competition. Oh, well, I can't remember what that thing is, but it was like money market funds with government bonds or something that were paying returns. And the bank said that was going to crash the financial system, which it didn't. Banque de France Governor Francois Villeroy de Galou said tokenization and stablecoins are likely to be the name of the game in 2026. They can modernize financial infrastructure. He acknowledged tokenization as a meaningful financial advance, particularly for wholesale markets. Now that's good stuff that the French banker said about crypto. That enthusiasm faded as the discussion turned to monetary sovereignty. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong described Bitcoin as a modern successor to the gold standard and a check on democratic deficit spending. You know, where governments spend more than they have, right? Villeroy de Galou clapped back by saying that money is inseparable from sovereignty, whatever the heck that means. Handing monetary control to private systems would amount to surrendering a function of democracy, he said. That's kind of ironic when you think about it, because most of the economies in the Western world are controlled by private banking corporations like the Federal Reserve, which is like they talk about the independence of the Fed. That means it's a private banking corporation that controls our economy by adjusting interest rates and also creating liquidity in the markets and stuff. So that is private banking controlling the economy already. So he's sort of talking himself into a corner, right? So if you're a private banker and you're saying that private systems would surrender a functioning democracy, I think you're sort of letting the cat out of the bag, right? But anyway, he's, of course, referring to crypto, which he calls private, when really it's decentralized and public, right? A lot more than the centralized banking system. Armstrong responded by pointing to Bitcoin's decentralized structure, as I just did, to claim that it's even more independent than fiat systems, and called attention a healthy competition, which got a chuckle from Villeroy de Galou, said the banker. Villeroy de Galou also drew a line against interest-bearing stablecoins, here we go, which he said could destabilize the existing financial system. U.S. crypto executives argued that rewards are necessary to keep stable with China's CBDC. The Binance CEO was there as well, Richard Tang. He did not rule out a return of Binance to the U.S. We're talking about Binance proper, doing business in the U.S. again. There were some issues with Zhao, their founder, who was charged in the U.S. for money laundering, because after they created Binance U.S., he was still allowing some big U.S. customers to still use Binance, and the U.S. didn't like that very well, so they threw the book at him. But he served his time and was pardoned by Trump. This is Circle's Circle CEO Jeremy Allaire dismissed fears that interest-paying stablecoins could destabilize the banking system. He called the bank run concerns totally absurd, arguing that the incentives involved are too small to threaten monetary policy or drain deposits. He added that interest payments function primarily as customer retention tools rather than systemic disruptors. Then cited government money market funds, which was what I was trying to get out of my mouth a couple minutes ago, as a historical comparison. Despite repeated warnings over the years, roughly $11 trillion has flowed into money market funds without collapsing the bank lending. What did Davos reveal about crypto priorities? Public image for stablecoins was badly tarnished in 2022 when the Terra ecosystem suffered a multi-billion-dollar collapse. That failure began with Terra Luna, Terra USD, an algorithmic stablecoin. Stablecoins have since flipped the narrative. It's now an important topic in the annual meeting of the world's most powerful voices in geopolitics and economy. And as they're mentioning that, just think about the people that we talked about that were there. Binance CEO, Armstrong from Coinbase, a lot of crypto people were there at the Davos meeting, and so that just kind of shows you the power that cryptocurrency now has if the representatives in the crypto industry are being invited to these global conferences, right? Davos 2026 reinforced stablecoins and tokenization as part of the year's policy conversation. The U.S. executive branch and Europe's banking sector remain philosophically divided on approach, and regulatory developments are still constrained by domestic policies. I did also want to give you an update on the progress of the stability bill, I think that they call it. There were two different committees that are hashing out this bill. I forget what the first one was. We talked about that last week or the week before. This one is the Agricultural Committee. They're involved in this bill for some reason. And apparently now that they're starting to get this thing, they haven't actually started yet, but the Democrats are already throwing out some of their amendments that they would like to see. Proposed amendments to the Senate Agricultural Committee's crypto market structure bill have been posted, and the Democrats filing the pitches are seeking to push a number of the points they've sought over months of negotiation. Democrat amendments include proposals for banning senior government officials from profiting off crypto interest and a demand for filling the Commodities Future Trading Commission before new rules can be put into place. Here we are again, the politics is you're for Trump or against him, right? So they're really mad that Trump is making money off crypto, so they would like to make it illegal for politicians to make money off crypto. I think they finally managed to make some kind of law where politicians can't trade stocks while they're in office, but I don't know that they have to sell all of their holdings before they take office. I'm sure if you're most of the people that get elected to Congress and the Senate are well-to-do and probably have stock and bonds and money markets and all that. I'm sure they don't have to sell them. I guess it's just trading while they're in office that they don't want. But that's where we're at. Trading Commission fill out its slate. The Commodities and Futures Trading Commission, there are some posts that aren't filled yet, and they are wanting to get all those post fills before the digital asset rules go into effect, which is kind of a delay tactic if you ask me. The Democrats' amendments are on record now. Senator Richard Durbin is seeking to ban bailouts of digital asset issuers, and it's the panel's ranking Democrat, Senator Amy Klobuchar, demanding the quorum of commissioners at the CF be more binding in a way than the existing draft bill of Senator Michael Bennet. A lot of political wrangling going on over the Clarity Act, that's what it is. The Digital Asset Market Clarity Act. But Trump did mention the Clarity Act in his speech at Davos, and he's talking as if it's a done deal, and it's going to make the U.S. the #1 crypto capital of the world. So we'll see. I did want to cover this little article here. I did a video on this week. I forgot to mention the videos that I posted this week. I did a video on reinstalling Ledger Live, or now called Ledger Wallet, and I keep calling it Ledger Live. But this is a question that I get quite often. I get a lot of panicked comments and emails from people who tell me, you know, my computer crashed, or I lost my phone, and, you know, my God, where's my crypto? If you're managing your crypto with a Ledger device, there's really nothing to be worried about if you know, your computer or your phone goes haywire, right? You can always use your device to help you reinstall, especially if you're running Ledger Sync. So I did this video. And the reason I did the new one is because I think the last few people that that asked me about reinstalling Ledger Wallet Clean, the videos that I was recommending were getting a little dated, right? They were, you know, valid process, but the interface is slightly different. And so when people look at, you know, my video and then they look at the current interface, they get confused. So I wanted to do a video where, you know, a step-by-step with the current interface of Ledger Wallet. So I like doing those videos. That's my bread and butter. That's why people trust me and my channel, is because of these great step-by-steps. So I did one this week, and then I did another video which is related to this article that we're talking about. And the scam warning is that this particular article points out that over the course of 2025, there were a lot of hacks and people lost crypto, but the majority of those were from social engineering. And because the network and the smart contracts are getting much more hardened now. So hackers are not able to as easily go in and hack into DEXs and staking protocols and things like that, where they were in the past, back in the 2020, 21, 22, and 23. There were a lot of DEXs that were getting hacked. Well, they're improving their security. It's getting harder to hack and steal crypto. So the focus has turned to the individual and with phishing attacks. And we've talked about these many times. The basic premise is that you're going to get an email, you're going to get a phone call, you're going to get a text or a letter telling you that you need to run an update or some critical update, or that there's a vulnerability in your wallet or in your Coinbase account. And they all come maybe from different directions using different methods, but the end goal of all of these scammers is to get you to reveal your seed phrase or your login credentials for your crypto exchange accounts. But what they're really after is the seed phrase of your wallet, whether it's a hot wallet or a cold wallet. And people just don't understand that when you give up that seed phrase, you're giving up access to the wallet. That's what the seed phrase does. I can take the seed phrase and use it to restore a new device. That's what a scammer will do. As soon as you've given them that seed phrase, they'll hang up the phone and they'll go use whatever tools they've got to access the assets that are being protected by that seed phrase. And a lot of people are under the impression that somehow the hardware device protects against that, but it does not. It's the backup to the hardware device. So you give up your seed phrase. They don't need to hack your hardware device. They don't need to hack your wallet. They just create their own wallet based on your seed phrase, and then they can transfer the assets anywhere they want. And a lot of older people are more vulnerable because not because they're old and senile, but because they're from an era where people were a little more trustworthy. I grew up in a house where if the phone rang, you answered it. And, because you didn't know who it could be. It could be important. And now most young people, they don't answer their phone. Why would they? Most phone calls are scams and hacks anyway. And so basically just don't answer the phone unless you know who it is. But older people have this mindset that's like, oh my God, it could be important. And so they'll see a number that they don't recognize and they'll answer it thinking, well, it could be somebody, that needs to talk to me or whatever, and you got to get out of that mindset because that's just the kind of attitude that scammers like to take advantage of. In fact, I got a text. Let me see if I can find it in here. Yeah, this is the one. Let me see if I can share my phone with you guys here real quick. This is classic here. And what this is here is a trap. Let me show you the text. You may have seen a text like this before. It sounds like it or looks like it came from Google. It says, and it's like a reset code. And it says, don't recognize this activity, reply no. Well, if it were a real Google alert, it would say, if this was not you, then you can safely ignore it. Because if someone else accidentally or on purpose is trying to log into your account and failing, then you don't have to take any action at all. But someone that doesn't quite understand how all this works is going to think, oh my gosh, I need to do something. Someone just requested a code for my account and I got the code and now I better do something about this. Well, the way these codes work is that's a two-factor code, or it's pretending to be a two-factor code. And it came to your phone, not the attacker's phone. So when you see a code coming to your phone, you requested a password reset. When you see that code, you should know that whoever was trying to log into your account has failed already because the code did not go to them. It went to you. But people don't understand this stuff, and this no, that's the catch right there. You reply NO to this text, they're going to put you on a list. Hey, we got us a live one now. We better call them and tell them that their account's in danger. That's how they hook you, right? So when you see stuff like this, you need to ignore it, right? You don't need to do anything if someone is trying to log into your account and the two-factor code is being sent to you. That's the security of a two-factor code. That's just one example. I just wanted to point that out. Let me catch up with the stream real quick. It doesn't look like there's too many burning questions. Let's see here. Boomers are broke AF. Bitcoin don't care. The president is. Right. That's what I was saying. All right. So yeah, I did want to, let's go with this firmware update. So when you go over here and let me show you what we're looking at here. I'll go ahead and connect the device. Ledger Live, when you connect your device, and I'm going to need to enter my PIN here. When you connect your device in Ledger Live is going to, once it sees what you've got connected, it's going to say, hey, this device needs to be updated, all right? So it wants me to allow the secure connection, so I'll do that. right? And so it's going to say, okay, you got an OS update available. Now, whoops. Before I actually run the update, I did want to, this thing. Oh my gosh. This microphone is just not behaving for me. Anyway. Anyhow. Just me and my life here. Is this going to work? Okay, that's a little better. Yes, it keeps. Yeah, this is what happens when you go to a live stream with a boomer. My microphone boom is like my mic's like flailing back and forth. I didn't get it tight. All right, so I did want to cover this topic briefly. It says OS update available now, and then now you can see it in the portfolio view. So when it says OS update available, and it says go to my ledger, they're talking about the device OS. They're not talking about Ledger Live. I know that's a little confusing, but Ledger Live is the software that runs, here I am saying it again, Ledger Wallet is the name of the software, not Ledger Live. I don't know. It's probably going to take me 5 years before I stop calling it Ledger Live, because I've been calling it Ledger Live for like almost 10 years, and they changed the name to Ledger Wallet. So please forgive me when I say Ledger Live and just substitute the word wallet in there for you. Anywho, Ledger Wallet is the software that you're running right here. The Ledger OS is the operating system of the device. So we've made that clear, right? Now, someone in the comments of one of my videos said, I thought the OS was the software. And I'm like, no. And he said, I thought the firmware was what runs on the device. And he's correct on the second part, because the firmware is what runs on the device, but Ledger refers to it as their OS. And the reason they do is because the Ledger operating system runs from the secure element chip. It is a programmable secure element chip. So and I want to make this distinction clear. First of all, let's go to this one. What is firmware versus software? Well, in a nutshell, software is something that you write in code, like a high-level language, and then it's written in maybe a text editor or a programming interface, and then that code gets compiled and turned into machine language and then run on your device. Like Microsoft Word is an application that's built with software. Microsoft Windows is an application that runs on your computer built with software. I think they wrote it in C++ or whatever language they used. Firmware runs directly on a piece of hardware, like on your phone or on your device, your hardware device. Firmware, the operating code in a washing machine, a TV remote, BIOS on a motherboard, or firmware in a drone. So it's basically software that has been kind of like burned into a device, right? So it's not something that can really be updated, but it can in a hardware device. Hardware devices have upgradable firmware. Now, here's the big distinction. I did kind of want to cover this. Firmware is fundamentally software with a few extras. Firmware is designed for a very specific piece of hardware, like a certain motherboard model or a hard drive model or a cell phone, etc. It wouldn't run on any other piece of equipment. That's a good distinction. Firmware is specific to the device, whereas software, Microsoft Word can run on a Windows machine or a Mac machine or there's a version. Well, I don't think they have a version for Linux, but they could. So software is portable in that sense. All it has to do, the code just needs to be recompiled for the platform that it's running on. Whereas firmware is, is end result code that gets burned onto a device. So that's another distinction. Now, the distinction that I wanted to talk about, though, is that, let's see, we already did that, right? That's something else. Yeah, I wanted to talk about this real quick. We've heard a lot about hardware wallets or hardware devices and secure element chips. Now, as I mentioned, the heart of every Ledger device is a secure element chip. Their OS runs completely on a secure element chip, which they get from STMicro. It's basically the same chip you see on your ATM card or your credit card. Those little chips. The Ledger buys those and actually programs them. They actually write code in there. And that's their OS. Now, other manufacturers, like, for example, Trezor, use microcontrollers. As you can see here, Trezor uses a microcontroller, but they also use a secure element chip. Now, this is the architecture of most other hardware devices. Most of their code, most of their OS runs on a microcontroller, which is not as secure as a secure element chip. And most of them use secure element chips now to protect certain secrets. And they don't really run code on these. There's built-in code on here, and they basically use the secure element chip to store the private key once the wallet generates it, and then also the PIN code of the device, so that those two are tamper-proof, right? But most of the code runs on secure elements. I'm sorry, the microcontroller, pardon me. Ledger is the exact opposite. All of their code runs on a secure element chip. And that is their model and why it's more secure. Now, Trezor and some other wallets put a bigger emphasis on, you'll hear them say open source, but open source doesn't really apply to hardware in that sense. But let's just call it transparency, right? The concept of open source and transparency. Although now most crypto hardware wallets are using secure element chips to store the private keys and the PIN secrets. And those are not open source. So anywho, I did want to kind of make that distinction because someone had asked me, hey, what is it, firmware or is it OS? Well, as far as the Ledger, they call it the OS, but it's basically the same thing as firmware. And I'm kicking around something down below here. So let's go over here. Yeah, we'll go back to this. We'll go ahead and run this firmware update. So we've got the device attached, right? And we'll run firmware update. And let me move myself. Whoops. Sorry, guys. I guess that's as good as it's going to get. There it goes. All right. So I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. All right. So we'll go ahead and get this thing started. Yeah, I'm doing this at an odd angle. But anyway. All right. So we're installing the firmware update. And then what we can see on the device. It's backing up the lock screen picture. All right. Which apparently it's done. It's transferring the update from the Ledger servers to the device, right? So you can see the device is being, they're loading an installer into their secure element chip. And once the update gets transferred into the device, then we can begin the update of the firmware, or OS as Ledger calls it. I always cut these uncomfortable silences out when I'm doing setup videos. But when I'm live, I just have to sit there and wait for it. But that's okay. It doesn't appear to be a huge one, right? So now that they've transferred the installer onto the device, now we can actually run the update. We'll hit install here. Or will we? Yes, we will. There it goes. All right, so it's processing and it's going to load. And let me show you what's going on the Ledger Live. Okay, there it's doing some installation. It shows updating here. A couple others, 2 of 3. Okay. Now, this is the part where most people get, okay, now it's actually running the update on the device itself. But there's a point here where people kind of get thrown for a loop, and it's right here. At this point, it is not done yet, right? It's telling you right here, enter your PIN and continue. But people see this screen here and they think, oh, well, it's done, and they yank it. They think it's done, but it's not done. At this point, you should enter your PIN. So, oops, and then I didn't enter it, and now, okay, I have to wake it up, and I'm going to enter this PIN. Okay. All right, so now that the PIN has been entered, it wants me to restore my lock screen picture, which is pretty cool. This used to be kind of dicey, but it works pretty well now. If you had a lock screen picture, it'll just load it back on there for you. And there it is. Then you tap to keep. This is my son and daughter back the New York skyline when we were over in New Jersey to take the ferry to the Statue of Liberty. All right, now it's done with that. We'll hit dismiss. And we'll go back here. Now this is the part that a lot of people miss because they think it's done and they disconnect their device. This is where it reinstalls all of the apps that were on it before. So it's going to go through all the apps I had on there before and automatically reinstall them. Now, and now it's asking me to allow the secure connection on the device. I'll do that. And then it's going to start installing the apps that were on there before. Let's go back here. Whoops, not there. Let's go back here. So while it's doing that, let me just mention that a lot of people that skip this step freak out because now they've got a device with no apps on it at all. And they think that's their crypto. It is, sort of. The crypto is basically the master private key. Well, the master private key hasn't been erased. Only the apps that you installed on there. So the master private key can regenerate all of the accounts that were on there before. All you have to do is reinstall the apps. So if you yank your device out in the middle of a firmware update, all you have to do is go and reinstall every app you were using before manually. It's not rocket science. And then you'll have access to all of your crypto. So people get, I know it's confusing, but I can't go to the accounts right now. But once I'm done with this, we will. The accounts that are showing in Ledger Live are just representations of what balances and transaction histories you have on the blockchain. The apps are what control those accounts. So all you have to do if you've flubbed up an OS update like this, and you didn't get your apps automatically reinstalled, just go to your accounts and you can actually check each account and do a test receive with the device connected, and it will automatically install the app that created that account. That's couldn't be easier. It's just you have to know to do that. But yeah, it's going to take a few minutes for us to get through this entire process. But this is ideal. This is what you should do. Let Ledger Wallet install all the apps for you automatically during the firmware update process. But if something happens during the middle of the firmware update, you're a perfectly capable human being and you can install these apps yourself manually if you need to. The same goes for your accounts. I think I had talked about this video. You might want to check this video. There's a lot of ways that people lose crypto when they're practicing self-custody, especially with Ledger. Ledger's the number one device. Oh, by the way, there was another news story too, and I thought I had that up there. But Ledger is considering an IPO in the U.S., maybe in 2026. So yeah, they're the biggest crypto hardware wallet company in the world. And so a lot of people are using them. So a lot of people will say, hey, where's my crypto? I lost my crypto. And they could mean any number of things. They could mean they don't see their accounts, or they could mean that they looked at their device and there's no apps on there. Both of those are easily solvable. This one is like your computer crashes or you lose your phone. You can get a new phone, you can get a new device, a new computer, a laptop, and using your Ledger hardware device, you can regain access to all of the crypto accounts. The same goes for the device itself. If it gets reset or wiped or even restored, a lot of people will run the restore. After you run the restore, it doesn't reinstall the apps for you because the restore just gives you back the master private key. It's your responsibility to restore the apps themselves, right? And I don't know where we're at here. I don't think it's quite done. Oh, it does look like it's done there. Yeah. Okay, it's all done. So let me just show you real quick. Let me see. Timothy, a firmware update on a hardware wallet like Ledger, etc., is when the device is most vulnerable, right? No, it is not vulnerable when you're running firmware updates. The firmware updates are very secure. The way Ledger runs a firmware update is that it checks the device, makes sure it's genuine, and it connects to the Ledger servers. There's a lot of secure authorizations going on during that process, right? So no, your device is not vulnerable when you're running firmware updates. I'll just put that out there. Many people might disagree with me. But the firmware really has nothing. There is no private key information being distributed across the networks during this process. The only thing that's being updated is the OS and the apps. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly do a, let me go back here. Let's go back over here and let's delete the Ethereum app here real quick. Let's delete Solana. It's kind of small. Yeah, the Ethereum and Bitcoin apps are a little, take up more room. Solana is a little, well, or am I wrong? Okay, there. So let's assume that something went wrong and during my firmware update, and I need to reinstall the apps, right? So I'm missing the Solana app at this point. So my accounts have not been touched, right? The firmware update was only on the device itself. So let's go into the Solana account and do a test receive and hit continue. And what's going to happen? It's going to check app dependencies because it can't find the Solana app. And it's going to install it for us automatically. Whoops. Oh, what's going on? Oh, I know what I did. I'm going to take this off. See, it knows that it needs the Solana app, and it simply reinstalls it for you automatically. So even if you yank your device out during the firmware update, and now it wants me to open it, you can easily reinstall all of your apps just by, well, I was screwing around. Oh, that's a different Solana account. I chose a bad example. Let's go back here. We need to be in Solana Flex, right? All right, let's try that again, right? Yeah. See, now it works, right? I'm unique because I have more than one device that I'm managing in Ledger Live. But the concept here is that your Ledger accounts are a record of all of the apps you need on your device, basically. So just go to each account, do a test receive, and then it will automatically reinstall the app for you. So even if you end up with no apps on your device after a restore or a firmware update, no cause to worry. That could be easily handled by simply going into each of your accounts and doing test receives. Boom, that's it. I got through that, didn't I? It wasn't too bad. Why can't you buy Monero on most exchanges? Monero is a privacy coin, and a lot of governments and don't like Monero because it's let me put this here. Yeah, here it is. Oh, it's Get Monero, not Go Monero. Yeah, because Monero is a privacy coin, it has a bad reputation with the powers that be because people, there is nothing illegal about wanting financial privacy, but they make it sound like it is a bad thing. And they always use the worst case scenarios to color privacy coins by saying, oh, it's used by terrorists, it's used by money launderers, it's used by drug lords, it's used by child predators. They want to make you afraid of privacy coins. Monero is one of the most popular privacy coins out there. But because of its nature, that it allows you to, transact privately between two private people, banks and governments and law enforcement hate it. So these regulators force crypto exchanges to delist it. So you can't get Monero on Coinbase and most others. But I believe you can still buy it on Kraken, if I'm not mistaken. Oops. Let me just quickly show you that. Okay. Are you kidding me? I must have restarted my machine. Oh well. Let me do this real quick. I did it. I thought that I had flubbed up the key entry, but I didn't. Okay. Now, I just wanted to point out that I am using a key fob here, or a secure key. That's a YubiKey, actually. So I'll tell them I use a pass key. It's a security key. I have to touch it. And then I like this new YubiKey because it requires a PIN code. So even if someone finds it, they can't use it. Right? So you enter the PIN code, you touch your key again, and you're in. So yeah, on Kraken, if I'm not mistaken, you can still, okay. Oh boy. Okay, I'll do that later. Let's see, what's the easiest way to do this? Let's just do buy, right? We want to buy Monero. Yeah, you can buy it on Kraken. Yeah. It's a US-based exchange. You could probably still buy it on Binance if I'm not mistaken, but it might not be available on Binance in certain countries. It's just because the regulators hate it, right? They don't like individuals having financial privacy, right? They want to be able to poke their nose into everything you do. Well, that's why they hate Monero, and that's why it gets delisted, and that's why it's not on that many exchanges. Yeah. Yeah, it would be cool if they had it on I'm an alien. I don't know. I hope you're. Yeah. Yeah, that's really why you can't buy Monero on most exchanges. But anyway. All right. Well, I got through everything I wanted to get through. Doesn't look like there's any burning questions. I'd like to thank everyone that was here tonight. Kenny was here early, and thank you for the news. Thank you, Dan the Man Westra, for joining us tonight and moderating. I appreciate your input in the stream and in our text group. Always like to hear Dan's updates. And everyone that asked questions, thank you for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. I will be here again next week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Saturday. Please join me for the live stream from Michigan, where you can throw out questions and I'll do my best to get them answered. Bobby, it's good to have you here. I don't give demerit slips for being late, so you're in luck. Oh, and what was the guy? The winner, not this. Let me see if I want to go over here. Who was our guy last week? Caesar. I sent out Caesar's. Let me get. What have I done? Oh my goodness. Oh, I just closed this. Caesar was our winner of the Tangem. No, I'm sorry. Caesar was the winner of the CryptoDad. And he didn't give me his address right away. He forgot about it for like 4 days or whatever. And then he sent me an email. It's like, oh my gosh, I meant to send you my address, but I thought I had hit send, but I didn't, and I closed the laptop. Anyway, he did send me his address. I sent him his Tangem, his CryptoDad, and he should be receiving that within the next several days. I sent it out on, I believe it's priority mail 3-day, so he should get that. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I want to thank you guys again. If you enjoyed this stream, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. When you subscribe, there's a little bell that you can click that will allow you to be alerted whenever I post new content. Once again, thanks for joining me, and hope to see you all again soon. Good night, everybody, and stay warm out there if you're in the cold parts. And stay cool in Australia.